So,
Powered by
here we
Riverside
are,
FM.
finally made it to Cornwall. So for all of those of you who know myself and Mrs. D, you'll know that it's been a dream for a long time to live in Cornwall, and we finally made it after nearly 11 months, or nearly 12 months in Devon. We finally made it into Cornwall. So we're here in a place called Maxworthy, which is a very small little, it's not even a village. There's probably about 6 to 7 houses and a farm. I found that when I'm kind of driving to different places, there's all these, there's loads of little, tiny little places like this. And we are about, well, we're in between Launceston and Bude. So most of you will have heard of Bude, gorgeous part of Cornwall, beautiful beaches, lots of like gift shops and cafes and little nicky-nacky places to go into, and it's really, really nice. And Launceston, I think Launceston is a bit like, it's a bit like a very smaller version of like Chester. So again, there's lots of eating places and drinking places, lots of nice little shops, but because it's not on the coast, it's a bit different to Bude. And the moving went as smoothly as it possibly could. If there's one thing for sure, that most of us have moved at least once in our lives, haven't we? And it's not a pleasant experience. Even when you get people in to do the moving for you, like we did this time, you're still left with all the boxes and all the black bin bags, and stuff that you buy. You're left with all the empty cardboard and polystyrene. Polystyrene is the devil's work. I have to say, if I never see another piece of polystyrene, I will die a happy man. It's awful stuff. In fact, by the time we'd finished with everything and getting everything away, the garage, because we've got a garage at the side of the house. There's no door on it. It's like in the olden days, you can leave like your front door open and nobody bothers. So yeah, there's no door in it. Mrs. D can put a little Vauxhall Adam in there. But after we'd moved, after that first week, it was full of cardboard and polystyrene and other black bin bags of crap, basically. And when I say full, I mean full. So we had to get a man in with a van to come and take it away. Because if I had just used my car to go down to the local recycling centre, I think I'd still be doing it now. There was that much. But yeah, thankfully we got it all sorted. And we've been getting used to life in Cornwall. Now, I'm just speaking for myself here, because Mrs. D, as you may or may not know, is a different personality to me. She's a lot more patience. But one of the first lessons I learned living in Cornwall, because it is different to Devon, didn't think it would be, but it is different to Devon, is that in Cornwall, nobody is in a rush at all. They don't walk in Cornwall, they amble, they drift. They're like dandelion fluff with credit cards. Back in Wigan, if someone stops in front of you, when you're on the pavement, they're either drunk or they've seen a dog do something hilarious. Here, if somebody stops in front of you, it's probably just a bloke in sandals just contemplating, looking at a pebble. And it could be there for minutes and minutes. And you go, is everything okay, mate? Aye. And he just, but that's the way people are. They just don't rush for anybody, which I think it will take some getting used to. I have to say, it will take some getting used to, but we'll be very pleasant. Slowly, because we've been here now, I think this is our 4th week, and we're slowly getting used to it. But like I said, they just they don't rush. They don't rush at all. And let's talk food, shall we? Now, I like a pie. I mean, and Wigan is famed for pies. A good, honest pie. Steak and kidney, chicken and mushroom, meat and potato, that sort of thing. A good pie. Now, here, you ask for a pie and you get a lesson in culinary heritage. And like, oh no, it's not just a pasty. It's a story wrapped in a pasty. Oh, right. Now, listen, if you've been to Cornwall, the pasties are stuff of legends. They really are. I would say that the pasties in Cornwall, they just beat everybody's. Even though Wigan is famed for pies and that, the pasties here are absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. If you've never been to Cornwall and you ever come on holiday, that's the first thing you want to do. Forget the cream tea. It's a pasty. That's what you're going to get your hands on. So the food, and by the way, speaking of cream teas, if you get the old scone, and there's the debate, isn't there, with a scone, whether you put the jam on first or you put the cream on first. If you put the cream on first here, it's absolute savagery. The look on you, like you just peed on one of the kids, it's like, oh my God, where's he from? So yeah, you have to do your research, you have to do your homework. And the other day, well, last week it was, I tried to join the local community, integrate. Mrs. D, she's always saying to me that I need to put myself out there. And I said, out where it's raining sideways. Because even though, listen, we do get some lovely days, sunshine, but when the weather turns and it rains, it rains. It really does rain. So anyway, she signs me up for this thing called the Gentle Movement Group. Now, I thought that it was like code for a dodgy political party, but it turns out that it's yoga. It's for people who make a noise when they sit down. You know what I mean? If you're of a certain age, it's, sitting down and getting up. Now, I've got nothing against stretching. I once touched my toes in 1987, I think it was. It was very emotional, it was, for everybody involved. But this class, it's just 6 pensioners. I'm a pensioner myself, don't get me wrong. But that's the other thing you see. It's like when you are, I know a few of my good friends who are over 65, and they look good. They look good for their age. They really do. But here in Cornwall, when you're over 65, you look as though you're ready for the graveyard. They honestly, they do. So in this class, there's just 6 pensioners in socks and one fella in tie-dye trousers who's called River. He's like the yoga instructor, and so River, he stood there in front of us all. I'm dressed accordingly, obviously. So River tells us to breathe through our feet. So I said, because, if you know me, I do like to crack a joke, just try and make light of a situation. So I said, well, if I breathe through my feet, I'll need a medic and new socks. Well, he didn't laugh. In fact, nobody laughed. They just hummed. So yeah, I don't think I'll be going back there. The other thing to just kind of mention to you as well, like I said, especially in Bude, there's the shops. Now, don't get me wrong, the locals are lovely, but because we're so, like I said, we're probably 9 miles from Bude and 9 miles from Launceston, there's not many kind of local shops. But there is one actual shop, and it sells 5 things, right? So this one shop that's within easy reach. Handmade soap, jams that nobody's asked for. They look great. They're in this cabinet, and they're all covered in them, them. It's got looks like a material top on it with elastic band round. They don't have lids. And there's just like hundreds of them with all these different types of flavours, and you know what I mean? Chutney and cream jam, and beef madras, things like that. They've got tea towels with pictures of lighthouses on them, which you wouldn't use to dry your dishes on. They have wind chimes everywhere, and that's it. No bread, no bog roll. So Mrs. D says, you have to support local. You have to support local. So I said, well, I would, but local doesn't sell bacon, doesn't sell sausage. You know what I mean? So I had to drive into Launceston just for sausages. And I passed 3 goats on what I think was a pagan ritual on the way. Yeah, might have been a barbecue, who knows. But the local people, I have to say, the local people are very kind. They really are. They're quiet, slightly suspicious, So it's like when you walk into a pub, it's silence. You order a pint, it's silence. And then you said, just to kind of introduce, I'm from Wigan, and suddenly they're looking at you like you just walked in wearing, stilts and quoting Karl Marx. It's not like because you're a stranger, it's just quiet. You go into a pub in Wigan, and there's darts, pool table, karaoke, loud laughter, and at least one argument about gravy. But here, they serve craft cider with herbal undertones, and if there's a quiz, and I do love a good quiz, they have a poetry round. Poetry in a pub. I nearly wept into my kelp crisps. Yeah, so yeah, not the kind of pubs that I'm used to. In fact, there's a pub that's the closest one to where we are. It's about 2.5 miles away, and it's got a great name. It's called Stumble-in. Yeah, Stumble-in, like it. And I've seen pictures of it online, and it used to be, I don't know if it used to be a house, but it used to be a couple of outbuildings, and they just turned it into this pub, and it does look good. That does have a pool table, and it does have a dartboard, and they do food there. We've not been there yet, so yeah, we might try that. But yeah, it looks good. It looks good. So yeah, not like the pubs in Wigan, in the north. Now let's talk about the weather. And I did mention the weather before. Like I said, we do get a lot of good days, but when it turns, like I said, raining and stuff like that, it's horrendous. Cornish weather isn't just weather, it's a threat. It doesn't rain, it kind of looms, it lurks over you. It waits for you to hang out your washing, then it attacks like a damp ninja. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we had fog, and it was so thick that I lost Missy D for half an hour, and she was stood right next to me. It was that thick. I'm not exaggerating. But I will tell you this, right? Cornwall does have magic. It really does. It's not just, fudge and overpriced crab butties. It does have magic. There's a spot in Bude by the cliffs where I go now and again. Just me, a flask, the sound of waves slapping the rocks like the world's angriest applause. No traffic, no phones, no lads shouting, "Go on, Gaz," at 2 a.m. It's just sea and space, just to breathe, I still don't know what mindfulness is, but, I think I've come close. Either that or I was just completely knackered. But that's one of the main things I think about Cornwall is that you can go to places, because there's loads of places where you can just sit and just look out to sea, and there's nobody around you for miles, and it's great. And even though you're there on your own, nobody around you, you'll always get a seal of little shit on you. Always. It's got all them places to do it, and it'll just find you. So I thought I need to do something that's, because like I said, I'm retired, and I just need to, especially while I'm here, do things that's kind of like that I wouldn't be doing in Wigan, in the Northwest. So I thought I would try, well, it was Mrs. D's idea, I have to say, a latest idea to help me embrace the spirit of Cornwall, is paddleboarding. Anybody ever paddleboarded? Are you any good at it? Well, let's just pause there just for a minute. So, picture me. If you don't know me, I keep saying I'm 6 foot, but I think I've shrunk to maybe 5'10" and a half. So over 16 stone. I'm not fat, but I'm big boned. So just picture me there, 67 years of age, built like a fridge freezer with anxiety, on a thin plank of floating plastic. Yeah, it was like watching a cow attempt ballet. It was that. I mean, you can't get your balance. So anyway, we arrive at the beach, and there's a few of us, and there's this instructor. You know the type, all tan and teeth and a man bun. And he says to everybody, right, it's all about finding your centre. So, again, me, quick as a flash, I said, hey mate, the only centre I trust is the one that sells pork scratchings. Yeah, nobody laughed. But I give it a go. And, listen, folks, for 3 glorious seconds, I was upright, majestic, balanced, almost spiritual. And then a wave hit me the size of Burnley, and it hit me in the chest, and I landed face first in the Atlantic. Mrs. D said it was liberating, but I swallowed half the ocean and lost a toenail as well. But yeah, it was liberating. I was tasting salt for a week. What else have we done? Oh yeah. Now then, after that debacle, we stopped at this place called a wellness cafe. Right, have you ever been in one? I'd not. I had no idea what went on. But I thought, I'll go in. Let's Mrs. D keeps saying, let's embrace the culture. It's like, if you've not been in one, it's like a coffee shop designed by people who've never known hunger or shame. So they had no bacon, no ketchup, and the tea, or coffee in my case, came in a jar. It's like, where's your cups? Where's your mugs? Can I not get a cappuccino? No, it came in a jar. Now, I asked for a sausage butty. I said sandwich. I thought they might not know what a butty is. So I asked for a sausage sandwich. And the waiter said, we do a fermented chickpea wrap with turmeric joy dressing. I said, look, I don't want joy. I just want sausage in a bun, if that's all right. Mrs. D said, don't embarrass her. I told her, look, it's already too late. I'd been spotted by a man in a poncho dipping his beard in his kombucha. That's a dip, by the way. So yeah, that wellness cafe didn't go down too well. But yeah, as I said, getting used to it. Like I said, there's a couple of houses near to us. They're very nice. We've got a neighbour called Gwen. She's proper Cornish. I mean, proper Cornish. She looks, if you can picture her, she looks like she was carved from driftwood. That's the type. She's about 83, drives a battered old Land Rover and keeps chickens named after 70s pop stars. Yeah. The other day, she comes round, knocks on the door, holding what I thought that was a large root vegetable. Turns out it was her husband's homemade cider. That's what I thought. So she says, careful love, 2 glasses of that and you'll see God or Somerset. Yeah, I had half a mug and I woke up on the roof with a pasty in each pocket. it was pretty lethal, and it's not like the gassy stuff, like you get some. This was like flat. It was like mead. It was, yeah. I think I had a hangover for a week, but I think I'm starting to settle in. I do. Well, sort of. I mean, I know, for example, let's think. Right, I know which bakery doesn't put beetroot in the flapjacks. I know when to avoid the bus full of ramblers from Surrey who all wear like matching fleeces and ask where the nearest Waitrose is. I've learned that if someone says that's a tidy view, I mean it's nice. Not that someone's been round with the Hoover. So maybe Mrs. D was right. There is something about this place, something slower, calmer. It's not Wigan. There's no Greggs. There's no shouting the chippy. No Brenda from accounts banging on about a sciatica. But what there is, the space, the sea, the silence, which, you know what, to be honest, it's unnerving at first until you realise that it's not silence. It's just the world not shouting at you for a bit. That's what it is. This week, it was last week actually, the end of last week, Mrs. D signed me up for something called a gong bath, right? Now, I don't know what you think that is, but I assumed a gong bath was either like a medieval punishment or like a really niche jazz album or a new setting on the dishwasher. But no, it's not. No. A gong bath it's a healing sounding experience. So it involves you lying on a mat under a blanket while a woman called Indigo hits massive bits of metal and talks about chakras. Honestly, I've been to a load of funerals. So Indigo tells me to open my third eye. I said, if I open my eyes anymore, I'll be like an octopus. Again, nothing. Just a long, echoing sound. Like my self-respect had totally gone. I did think of something else when she said open your third eye, but I'll try and keep it clean. Anyway, afterwards, Mrs. D said, because she was with me, she said that she felt rebalanced. I said I felt like I'd been mugged by a tambourine, but there you go. Now I'll admit I am beginning to warm to it all slowly, because sometimes when you get to a certain age, it's difficult to embrace change. I know this is something that we both wanted to do, but it's difficult when you're coming from a place where everywhere's packed, you know what I mean? Traffic is bumper to bumper, you can be bumping into people in a shop and stuff like that. So it is hard to kind of change in that respect. But I think I'm doing it slowly but surely, I'm warming to it. Like cheap gravy on a bad day. I've started nodding at locals instead of flinching. I've stopped checking my watch every 5 minutes. And I've learned to love a coastline that looks like it's permanently posing for a biscuit tin. You know what I mean? You know the type, don't you? But flip side of the coin is there are things that I still don't understand, right? So for instance, why is every second shop an art gallery? It's like, how do they do business? And they all seem to kind of sell the same type of paintings. And some of the paintings look as though they've been done by a 4-year-old. I mean, they might have been done by a 4-year-old. But yeah, they're always of the coastline and seagulls and things like that. I mean, and who's buying them? Who's buying these paintings, of angry seagulls and driftwood whales? Who's buying them? And why is every man over 60 called Martin and always wet? You see them, don't you? Surfboard or paddleboard underarm with a wetsuit on. Not wearing sandals. They're walking over stones and not flinching. That's not me. That is not me. There's nothing worse than a pebbly beach. Don't know how they do it. Maybe I don't know, maybe the feet's used to it. I have no idea. And why does every conversation end with, well, let's tidy a funny one this week? Well, the tide's a funny one this week. I mean, is that code? Is it Cornish for I've said enough now? Take your out, ta-ra? No, I still haven't cracked it. I'll tell you what I have learned, and I've not tried it yet. But when you go to the beach, when I go to the beach and I'm in the water, because I do like dipping in the water, dependent on how warm it is, I will swim. But more often than not, I just go into the knees and stuff like that and get, but then when you're leaving and you've got your sandals or your trainers on the beach there waiting for you, as you walk, your feet then are wet through and they're full of sand. Now, normally, we will take a bottle of water and then you sat there then and you try to pour water and a towel and wet you. Mrs. D is different. She'll just put her sandals on, that's it. But I can't have sand under my feet, my toes. I'll just feel it for hours while we're walking. But I did see something where if you take a carrier bag, like a plastic carrier bag, a proper one, really. I suppose you could use a thinner one, but, just a regular supermarket brand, no advertising, but really supermarket brand of carrier bag. And as you're leaving, if you go into the sea and fill the carrier bag up, and then you walk across the beach to where you're going to be leaving, where you can sit down, if you then dip your foot into the carrier bag full of water, instantly washes all the sand off. And then use the other foot, instantly washes all the sand off. And then just pour the water away. How good's that? Oh my God, that is a godsend. As I said, I've not tried it yet, but I will be doing. That's absolutely amazing for me. But you know what? Right. I think it is working. This whole, Cornish experiment or experience, really. Not so much an experiment because it's an experience. I mean, last week I walked past a shop that sells wool from llamas and do yoga, and I didn't even comment. That's growth, that. Because sometimes we'll walk past shops like that, and I know Mrs. D's looking at me because she's thinking, he's going to say something in a minute. But I didn't. I didn't even think about, llamas that do yoga at all. I mean, and yesterday, I caught myself gazing out to sea with a cup of herbal tea, thinking about nothing in particular. Not football, parking fines, no Brian from next door borrowing my ladder and never returning it. Just the sound of seagulls, the wind, and the smell of whatever Gwen's burning in her agger, which is like an urn, I believe. So I've done my research. It's peace. It's weird peace, but it's peace that, smells of kelp and comes with artisan hummus, but still it's peace. So that's how I'm getting used to Cornwall. Just remember a few things that I've kind of remembered that will help me. As far as scones are concerned, cream teas, keep the cream on top, right? Keep your sarcasm dry. And if anyone offers you a gong bath, just pretend you've already had one. I think that's one of the things that I will remember. So, so that's it for this podcast. There'll be more from me for next week. I'm trying to think what I'll be doing next week. Oh yeah, because Mrs. D is always getting me into all sorts of things to do. Next week, I believe, I'm helping organise the local Scarecrow Festival, which I can't wait. That should be really exciting. Gwen is roping me in for a cider tasting that I'm sure will end with someone losing a welly. And I'll finally ask what on earth a mizzle is. And it's not what I thought, it's not a rapper. So yeah, we're fine. Although I'll let you know how I go on next week with all that. Just looking through the window, the sun's come out. So until this time next week, have a great day, have a great week, have a great life. Remember that there is someone who loves you. So until next time, I'll say ta-ra, or as they say in Cornwall, ta-ra.